Wholeness. Welcome to my channel. My name is Rashida Silvertree, and today's topic we have another one on energy. How karma is self-imposed. The negative and the positive. How karma is self-imposed, the negative and the positive. So karma is that term is comes from Eastern spirituality. It is that one energy. Karma is it's not even negative or positive. We label it as negative or positive, and usually when it's used in Western society, it has a negative, a negative connotation to it. It's very like, ooh, karma's the B word, right? Or we say it when we feel wronged by someone. We'll say that, well, karma's going to get you back, right? There is good and not so good karma. Karma is the energy that it's almost like an energy debt collector, if you will. If you're in the red, if you're committing certain actions in your life and committing certain behaviors in your life, which everything's interconnected, and it's affecting someone close to you, your community, your workplace, the human collective, it's gonna come back, right? The debt always must be paid, okay? Like they say, you can't escape death and taxes. So when another phrase you'll hear is karmic debt, and how you accrue a karmic energy. If those of you who believe in past lives, you accrue a certain amount of karmic debt that you have to alchemize, and you have to transmit into something that is back in that goes back to like love, or becomes balanced again. I know in the Buddhist path, or the path of Buddha, when it comes to karma, is like, let's say in a previous life you were a doctor that you had a malpractice, like you weren't a good doctor, you didn't treat the patients through the correct way and how they needed to be treated, and so you die in that life, you come back again to play out, to pay back that karmic debt, negative karmic debt, and now you're the patient, right? So now you're the patient in this life that is living with something terminal or a chronic illness, and you're having to experience what your patients experienced the life previous before. Or you, let's say in another life, you grew up in poverty, okay? And you didn't have much, but you gave what you had when you could give it. And so in this life, you have an abundance of wealth. And so you have a choice to, give as much as you gave in your previous life, or you have the choice to keep it all to yourself. Right? It's that belief system. I do believe in the whole a little bit when it comes to having previous lives, but I also believe that we have future lives and we have other present lives, all simultaneously existing at the same time. I don't necessarily believe in linear timelines like that. I believe in a cyclical time where all moments coexist with each other. But when it comes to the energy in the present moment, and what you're giving and what you're getting, what you're receiving, what you're releasing to people, it is very real, It begins in the mental body, in the psychic realm. Like spiritual belief systems slowly enter into the energy vortex through the mind. It becomes a thought, and through that thought, that thought creates a visual, and with that visual, it creates these feelings and emotions, and so you attach your feeling and emotions to that thought, and then the emotions and thoughts begin to affect what you do physically, and so then it creates a behavior, and with behavior comes pattern, and with the pattern, You have the action, and you start doing things that affect everything and everyone else around you. And what they do affects you. And so it's the intention behind the actions or lack thereof that where you can, you know, have good things and bad things happen. And that's just, it is what it is. The most important thing and how you can really deal with self-imposed karma, because we build karma for ourselves all the time, every day, every moment, every second, is how we deal with the moments, the highs and the lows. That to me is what neutralizes and helps to kind of balance out that karma, if you will. It's how we deal with those low points where bad things just seem to happen to you. It's really just the energy and accumulate. And I'm not saying to blame or put blame on anyone or victim blame anyone. Oh, this happened to you because you did this, this, and this, and this. No one can prove that, but to me, there is some truth to that. If you're gonna be a Scrooge, okay, think of Christmas Carol. If you're going to be a Scrooge and act like a complete a-hole to everybody, everyone's going to be afraid of you. Everyone's going to be very intimidated by you, and no one will want to be around you. And you're going to receive that energy from people. Fear, intimidation, anger, bitterness, and just this like, I want to stay around you, like, or stay away from you type of energy. But if you're like Scrooge, and when he wakes up on Christmas Day, he's got all this love, he's forgiving, he's grateful, he's joyful, he's giving it to everyone. Everyone's giving that back to him. So to say that it doesn't exist, karma doesn't exist, and people don't get what they deserve, it's not always. Karma doesn't work. Energy of karma, it's again, it's timeless. It's not linear. Okay. If you can think of the worst of the worst of the worst, and this is what's so tricky with karma, because people, they want justice. They want the wrongs to be right, to be righted. No, that's not a word. They want the wrongs to be right. They want the wrongs to be justified, to be put back into order. That's why we have in the patriarchal system, the judicial system, the courts and whatnot. You have a judge to make certain decisions so that there's some level of fairness. But there's a lot of unfairness in the world, where people can commit the most heinous acts, and it's a self-imposed. They know exactly what they're doing. They're intentional behind their behavior, and then they end up committing the most heinous crimes against someone or a group of people or a whole nation. And that creates, and they don't get punished for it. They don't get punished. They don't get the equal amount that they put out. And that is what they self-impose a karmic debt. And that debt will be paid. The debt will be paid. Because energy is energy. You can't just split. People will try to do it. For those of you who are into energy manipulation, my magicians out there, alchemists out there, or people who are just on a conscious path, or what have you, right? Or not. You can be complete atheist. Okay, it doesn't matter. But you're harnessing certain powers and energies for yourself, or you're imposing powers and energies on certain people outside of yourself. And you create a certain vortex, right? You try to harness all that. I'm sorry. Everything is one. Good, bad, happy, sad, black, white, feminine, masculine, all of that is one, just one. And in this realm, in this reality, and with our paradigms, we try to split everything up into these little fragments of consciousness. But all of it is just one, through illusion of separation. All of it is oneness. You cannot split and try to, and so meaning you can't commit an act, especially if it's negative. You can't commit an act and then say, okay, I'm protected. I'm not gonna have to pay this back. I'm not gonna have to deal with the repercussions of this. They try. It's just, and the downside of it all is that we don't know. Like someone who's, led a cult or something, like Manson, Charles Manson, that's his name, who had that cult, and, he forced those people to commit those horrible crimes. We don't know what type of karmic debt he has to face beyond the veil. beyond the physical reality? Mm, we don't know. And the not knowing, and you're wanting it, justice now, that just creates even deeper fragmentation and separation. But I am a firm believer that the debt will always be collected. We just don't know what time. We just don't know the severity. But, when that's why you want to try to balance anything that you feel like you've done, something bad, and it is weighing heavy on you, then do something good. And that's not to say it's just gonna wipe out all the bad you've done. No one can make that judgment, even if you're standing in court, in the court of law. You're handcuffed, you're put in prison. You know what I'm saying? And then you have those story arcs of people that have committed those crimes, and then they, are given an opportunity to change that around, and they do good in the world. Still doesn't mean that their karma, that their negative karma is served. That the debt's been collected. You don't know. One can only hope. So I'm going to refer to my notes. Hold on. Yeah, so your karma is self-imposed. It is. And when things happen to you, bad things happen to you outside of your control, which that's happened to me and that's happened to other people, you deal with it in the best way that you know how. Right? That's a hard one to swallow. Because, especially if you've been victimized, whether that's financially, emotionally, physically, it doesn't matter. But if you've been severely victimized, how the heck do you deal with that? I can think of another example, what's happening between Israel and Palestine. People who've been victimized on both sides. But Palestine, I don't feel like there will be a Palestine in the next couple of years. The rate they're going. But it's like those human beings, the human beings who call themselves and who are called Palestinians, how in the heck where do you even begin? You automatically want to get them back. If you absolutely have nothing to lose, and they've taken everything from you, how can you say, yeah, karma will get them back? That's hard. Ooh. That's a hard one. That's where I question karma, It's like, especially if it's been happening for decades of these people just being slowly eaten at until there's nothing left. There's no food, no water. They're bombing the hospitals and schools, so there's no service, no electricity. A whole family's wiped out. You're the only survivor. And then there's no justice. Karmic, that's why it's self-imposed. Because the type of karma that the Israeli government is accruing, the debt will need to be paid. It will be collected. Maybe not right now. Maybe not right now. Or then maybe in the next 10 years or 20 years or 100 or 1,000 years. Who knows? It's beyond our perception of time. But man, oh man. Or anyone who's committing acts of violence, whether that's in the name of political ideology, religious ideology, cultural ideology, or someone who goes into a school and shoots up everybody. You know what I'm saying? What type of, that's my biggest question, and I'm going to end this video with that, is people, human beings who've been severely victimized, how can, like, what, oh man, it's a total, it really screws with your mind, because you want immediate justice for those who've been victimized. You want immediate justice. You don't want to wait around. You know? You really don't. You want it now. But for those who knowingly and intentionally self-impose negative karmic debt, Jesus, oh my goodness. You think that you're going to be safe? Because I believe it's multi-generational. I believe you can commit certain physical acts and negative physical acts in this life, and then you've completely effed over any descendants that you have. So you could have nieces, nephews, and then they have children, and they have children. It doesn't matter. But whatever genetic, biological, multi-generational connection you have on this earth, you've completely effed it over because of that kind of karmic, spiritual debt that you've self-imposed, that you put on yourself. That ish don't just go away. I think it shows up that's where generational curses come from. Karmic debt. Something needs to be paid, recognized, healed. It'll keep showing up over and over and over until it's played itself out, until the karmic debt is now neutralized. You're no longer in the red or the green. You're just neutral, balanced out. Like you think, I'm going to say this and I'll go. I think of, oh my God, Romeo and Juliet, the Capulets and the Montagues. What happened? And I know this isn't the ending of the story, obviously. I know this play almost literally. I know the play, okay? I know my Shakespeare. But let's just say, I think they were the only children, and Juliet was the only child, and Romeo was the only child. I believe so. They didn't have any siblings, and so both their parents were beyond, where they could have more children, and so they were the first and last of the bloodline. Wow. There was so much hate in between the two families that they wiped themselves out. And you can have that too. Like the problem is completely neutralized. Families had so much hate towards each other that the two individuals that could unite the two big families, powerful families, they could have become even more powerful and influential if Juliet and Romeo were left alone after they got married, right? I think they married. Maybe I don't know the story as like I claim. It's been many years, but Romeo and Juliet, but no, the families hated each other so much, and there was so much crap and influence and confusion that the families destroyed themselves. So you can have that as well, where the karmic debt is where bloodline is completely squashed. There will not be a descendant, a continuation of this. Only an echo and a stain in history. Right? I know I'm all over the place with this, but I find it very interesting. That's why I always try to intentionally do good, because it's like you don't know when karma's gonna be like, okay, it's time to pay up. It's almost like the Grim Reaper. Like, you don't know when death's coming. You know what I'm saying? You know it's coming, but you don't know when. You don't know how. You don't know why. You don't know. You know it's there, but it doesn't hit you until it hits you. And that's karma. And sadly, karma gets a lot of, like, a negative rep, and I don't think it should. I think it should just be very neutral. You do good, you get good. You do bad, you get bad. You can do good and get bad still. You can do bad and get good. That's that's just how it is. And we try to spiritualize it. We build religions around it. They know 10 commandments and all these rules, and it doesn't matter. The debt will be paid. But if you self-impose, oh man, and you got a whole family, you got a whole multi-generational blood. That's why these political leaders, I'm like, wow, sometimes I'm just flabbergasted. I'm like, you don't think anything you're doing is going to affect your children's 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 children? You don't think so at all? You're just so arrogant to believe you're beyond the beyond? But to each their own. So that was just my insight on it, I guess, is, you know, we should focus more on the positive karma too, but just neutralizing that negativity with love, doing loving things for others, you know, doing loving things, committing loving acts, and just kind of like, you know, if you accrued a certain kind of debt, a certain kind of karma, yo, do enough good to where you're going to be content and at peace with yourself when karma is like, okay, I'm coming to collect. Don't be shocked. Don't cry. Don't scream out. Because you know what you've done. You know what you did, right? And this is for everybody. You know, no one's above anybody else, myself included. Live intentionally. Live intentionally. Live with by knowing your why. That's it. See ya.